168,000 votes. 138,000 was it, Tim?
Yeah, 138.
138,000. You see the same. And see, look, this makes no sense. This is not even statistically possible where you have linear movement along voting like this. So you have a skyrocket. It should have been moving along.
The argument is these are votes that came in, and they all came in at once. But the thing that's the irony of it, every last one of them broke for Biden?
There was not a Trump vote in there. They all vote, and you do not have a place in any state. Maybe Dixville's Notch, where there were 5 voters at the first thing, and they all 5 voted for Biden. Maybe there, but not when you have something of 138,000. You don't all break that way, and it still shouldn't be linear because you have so many counters that are counting across the way that they're all tallying and reporting, and you don't bunch them in and report one thing. So that doesn't look right for the process. It certainly does not look right for the fact that there is no place of 138,000 where you don't have both candidates represented. I mean, even the bluest city, you're still going to have somebody voting for the other party. And so these two things, it would not be a tight race right now had this not occurred. And this looks like it occurred maybe 4:30 in the morning. This is about 6:30 in the morning.
6:23 a.m.
There you go.
Here.
Well, 6:23 here.
There.
Yeah, it looks like about 4:30 maybe that it shot up here. So those are the two charts. And now you hear that Nevada has shut down. They're suddenly not counting anymore. So there's some crazy stuff going.
If you had to make a prediction of why would they stop counting in Nevada? I mean, people at home are trying to figure out what? It's the middle of the day. Why would you even stop?
That's what's inexplicable by all logical, by all political counts. It makes no sense at all. So you would still have people working. You would still have people counting through the day, through the night, trying to get the tally. It makes no sense why you shut everyone down. 160.
Ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity.
I'm very concerned for our upcoming election because this voting machine is used in 18 different states, and it's extremely easy to get admin access on this machine. So let me show you how quick it is. It's about a little under 2 minutes. All they have to do, this bad actor, would be to open up this machine by pressing this button right here. When it's off, removing the card reader, removing this, you don't need any tools to do this. Unplugging this, again, you don't need any tools to do this. Turning it on, all you have to do is pick this lock here with a ballpoint pen. Open this up, press the red button, and we're gonna let it boot up here, and then I'll show you the admin access. So it's loading what they call a secure voting terminal right now. And here we're going to see a couple of error messages, and all you have to do to bypass those error messages is just click cancel and OK. And now I have full admin access, under 2 minutes.
This lady is marking the ballots. I filmed her a half hour ago doing 6, and she's still working at it. Let's stamp it, received, and let's fill in our 6 blanks. All at the top of the tickets on each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a security guard right there who's watching her. The cops are in on it. Disgusting.
when I started writing down the ballot numbers and the last names of the person of the ballot that had the name on that ballot, they were all in sequence. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They cannot be in sequence. 2232 cannot have 2233 next to it, because if they're mailed in, they come in all different numbers. And when I started noticing that these numbers are almost next to each other, like one or the other was in the middle, but then they were almost next to each other, my antennas went up. That's exactly when I thought something is not right here. Then I asked the supervisor. There was not even a date on those envelopes. It said November 0-2020. There was no second number there. Then I said, what is the date on this one? Then they got really mad at me. They said, you're not letting us do our job. You're disturbing us. And at that point, because we really don't want to be kicked out, so we were just kind of not challenging anything because we want to still stay in the room because we barely had anybody. Not only that, these sequence ballot numbers were all from the same area, like the Goddard Street in the downtown Detroit. Goddard Street, sequential ballots, signatures were all alike. They had no date stamp. It said, like, it was empty after 0. There was no third or second or first or nothing. And none of them were coming up in the system. They were all being entered manually. They even knew that none of these details would even be in the poll book or in the system.
The center of the room, they have all the boxes lined up, and then they have one table full of the duplicate ballots. As I'm sure you're all familiar with duplicate ballots. So they have a table for duplicate ballots. Throughout the entire night, many employees were conducting theft of duplicate ballots. So they would come up to the table of duplicate ballots, grab 3 or 4 duplicate ballots, run back to their table, give one to another person at another table, and never complete a duplicate process. They would stash the ballots under boxes, and I would have to stand there for about 5 minutes and just wait for a duplicate process, and they would just look at me, and it was never ever completed. So that happened throughout the entire night.
This is inside the TCF Center. Now, the local media said that this never happened. Hattie actually called me on November 4th. She was inside the TCF, and she said, Jim, you won't believe it. I just heard that a van dropped off boxes of ballots in the middle of the night, and she was working inside the TCF that morning. So we put in a request to get this video. It took months, and we got this at Gateway Pundit. We put this up on on our site. We tweeted about it, and that's when we lost our Twitter account, by the way, by putting up this video. There's a lead car, an escort car that comes in. You can see here. Each time he hands something to the people inside, and then this van drives in, and they actually came in twice. Now, we had local media, one of the top reporters there, I'm not going to mention his name. He said that this never happened. He was there all night. There was no fraud. Nothing happened. So now we have the video of that.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question. So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours. So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present, consistent with your statutes and rules, to supervise the tabulation? We believe that could easily be, and probably is certainly, beyond the margin of victory in this race.
This all happened on October 21st, all right? So October 21st, I went into work as normal. I picked up my truck, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I got my slip, my ticket, whatever you want to call it. A slip of ticket is basically something that it has the date, it has the time, it has when I'm leaving, it has all the information I have on it for that load. So I got my ticket, and off I rolled to go to Bethpage, New York. I get to Bethpage, I check in at the guard shack out front. I go over to the door that he assigned me. I dock the trailer. I go inside, and as I go inside, this is when things kind of got a little different. So I always see an expediter when I go to a place. I see them whenever I go to a place, and whenever I leave the place. So when I went in, I gave her the ticket. She said, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing pretty good. How are you?" She said, "Good." She goes, "Guess what? Today you're going to be bringing back mail-in ballots." I'm psyched because I'm doing something to help out for the presidential race. You know, like this is cool, the election. You know, and all I know is I'm picking up the ballots from New York. I don't know if they're New York ballots. I don't know if they're Pennsylvania ballots. I don't know if they're California ballots. All I know is I'm picking up ballots in New York, headed for Harrisburg. I got my ticket, and off I rolled. Part of me was wondering, like I was excited, but then part of me was wondering also, like, why am I taking these things out of state from New York to PA? I don't know. I don't know what the proper process is, but I just know, I don't think you would take mail-in ballots out of one state to the other. It just doesn't seem right, Then I got to I got to Harrisburg, and this is where things kind of got weird. So I pull in, and I made the wait. So I sat in the yard, and I sat there from 9:15 till a little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I ended up going in to get to figure out what was going on, and I went in, no one knew. I talked to an expediter. He said he doesn't know. He said, "Hold on, I'm gonna go get someone, find someone, And that's whenever I talked to this transportation supervisor. He came down. He's like, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "Good. How are you?" He said, "Good." He said, "I'm transportation supervisor." He said, "I'm gonna need you to take this load out to Lancaster," and I said, "Well," I was like, "Why?" I was like, "That really doesn't make sense." This is what I told him. I was like, "This really doesn't make sense." I was like, "Why would I take it back to Lancaster?" I was like, 95% of this load is all for you. I was like, it would make more sense to leave the trailer here in this yard if that's the case, because I'm running out of hours, all right?" And the guy said, "No, just take it back." And I said, "Okay." I was like, "Well, I'm not going to argue with the dude. I don't get paid to do that." And I said, "All right." I was like, "Well, let me get a slip." And he said, "No." And I was like, "Well, I need a slip, He goes, "No." He's like, "I'm not giving you a slip." I said, "Well, why aren't you giving me a slip?" And he's like, "Well, you need to be unloaded." I was like, "Well, let me get a late slip at least, so that way I'm being paid for the 6 hours that I sat in the yard." He's like, "No, you ain't getting no slip either, no late slip either." And he got kind of sarcastic. I got a little sarcastic. And I was like, "Whatever, I'm leaving." Then I drove to Lancaster, dropped the trailer off where I normally do. And then I dropped my truck off and got in my car, drove away. Came back the next day, and this is when it's even weirder. So my trailer that I had this trailer for the past month, 10R 1440. It's not there, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, "Where's my trailer at?" The trailer's gone. No one knows. And this was the first and only time that I had mail-in ballots, first and only. I didn't vote for anyone. I'll be honest with you. I didn't vote for anyone. I just didn't want to, And I was talking to my mom, and she said, "Hey," she goes, "I want you to talk to someone about the situation that you had, all right?" And I said, "Okay." And I talked to them, and I told them everything that I just told you. I didn't care who really won the election, but standing there, I think the election, our vote, that's the one thing of us Americans that we have. And if you're going to start corrupting that, taking that away from us as Americans, We deserve to know the truth. We deserve to have an honest, fair election.